That footage of an underground tunnel has been released by the IDF, which claims it's where Israeli hostages were being held. The IDF says that tunnel was connected to an extensive network underneath a civilian area, and millions were spent in excavating the tunnel and equipping it with air ventilation systems, electrical supply and plumbing. The IDF has also released footage of what it claims is a tunnel shaft located under a children's room, which led to a tunnel that contained weapons and was used as a training and combat area.
מהלך פעילות של גדוד 932, מהלך סריקות ופשיטות על המרחב, עלינו פיר בתוך חדר ילדים, ממש מתחת לארון, לשידה שבו התלמיד אמור לשבת וללמוד, רואים פיר שמוביל לתוך המנהרה ולתת"ק. אפשר לראות פה גם את כל המטולים של RPG, אמצעי לחימה, הכל נמצא במרחב אחד, כולל וסטים מוכנים, רימונים ומוכנים להפעלה.
Meanwhile, the father of 46-year-old Omri Miran, who is being held hostage in Gaza, has opened up about the heartbreak his family is suffering 3 months on from the October 7 attack.
אבל לי קוראים דני מירן, אני חקלאי מיסוד המעלה, מושבה בגליל העליון.
I'm translating into English for Dani. My name is Moshe. I'm also a family member of hostages. So he said, my name is Dani, and I'm a farmer from Yesod HaMala.
הבן שלי נחטף מנחל עוז בבית שלו לעיני שתי בנותיו ואשתו.
He says that his son was kidnapped from his home in Nachal Oz. Closer? Okay. That his son was kidnapped from his home in Nachal Oz in front of his 2 young daughters.
הבוקר כשירדתי מהמיניבוס,
This morning when I came off the minibus,
וראיתי את כל הקהל הזה עומד על הכביש בקור הזה,
and I saw this entire crowd standing in this cold,
זלגו לי דמעות מהעיניים, מהתרגשות.
I cried from happiness.
איך אנשים באים, עוזבים בית ויוצאים להזדהות איתנו עם הסבל, עם המכה שחטפנו בשביעי לחודש.
How all of these people have left their homes in this weather and come to show their solidarity with us over the suffering that we've been experiencing since the 7th of October.
לבן שלי יש 2 בנות, אחת בת 6 חודשים ביום החטיפה, והיום היא בת 9 חודשים, שליש מהחיים שלה. האבא שלה לא חיבק אותה, לא ראה אותה ולא נגע בה.
My son has 2 daughters, one who was 6 months old at the time of the kidnapping, and now she's 9 months old, and she's a third of her life she's been away from her father. Her father's been away from her.
הילדה הגדולה,
The older girl,
הייתה בת 2 וחודשיים,
who was 2 years and 3 months,
אמרנו לה בתחילה שאבא שלה הלך לטייל.
we told her that her father is on a trip.
אחר כך סיפרנו לה שאבא הלך לאיבוד ומחפשים אותו.
And then we told her that her father got lost and we're looking for him.
אחר כך אמרנו לה שהוא בעזה.
And then we told her that he was in Gaza.
היא לא יודעת מה זה.
She doesn't know what that is.
אבל לפני 3 שבועות היא אמרה לנו, אני ישבתי בבית של צחי על הרצפה ואנשים רעים לקחו את אבא.
3 months ago she said she was playing on the floor and she heard that bad people came and took her father to Gaza.
וכך זה היה.
And that's what happened.
אני מלא התרגשות בעצם העובדה שהבן שלי שם בעזה סובל עכשיו מקור בתוך המנהרות.
And I'm very excited knowing that even though my son is in Gaza suffering from the cold.
ומצד שני, אני נרגש מכל הקהל הזה שאני לא מכיר אף אחד מכם, אבל כולכם באים, מזדהים איתי כאילו זה היה הבן שלכם, האח שלכם, האבא שלכם, האמא שלכם, הסבתא שלכם.
And on the other hand, I'm very excited to see all these people here whom I've never met until today, showing their solidarity as if it were their son, their father, their mother, their wife.
ואני שולח אהבה ונשיקות מעומק ליבי לכל אחד מכם.
And I send my love and hugs and kisses to each and every one of you.
תודה רבה. תודה רבה.
Thank you.
Bring them home! Bring them home!
Thank you, Danny and Moshe. Thank you.
Danny Moran made that speech to a crowd of hundreds who came together outside the International Court of Justice to take part in a march demanding that all of the hostages be released.
Now! Bring them home! 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 Now!
Israel claims 132 people remain unaccounted for after they were abducted and taken to Gaza during the October 7 attacks by Hamas. Of these, 25 are believed to be dead.
We will never forget the Hamas massacre of October 7th. We will never let the world forget the Hamas massacre of October 7th. We will never let the world forget the hostages being held by Hamas since October 7th. Never again is our call to action, because never again is now.
South Africa is requesting that the world's top court, the International Court of Justice, move urgently to end Israel's offence in Gaza. Statements made by Israel's Prime Minister and President were cited by South African lawyers as evidence of genocide. Israel has continuously denied the allegations.
It is a big moment in this war and a dark one in the history of Israel. For the first time, the Jewish state in the world's court facing charges of genocide. Allegations directed by South Africa at every level of Israel's government.
We remind the court of the identity and authority of the genocidal inciters. The Prime Minister, the President, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of National Security, the Minister of Energy and Infrastructure, members of the Knesset, senior army officials, and foot soldiers.
South Africa played the court video evidence. It says shows genocidal incitement by Israelis.
Our hero troops, they have one supreme main goal: to completely defeat the murderous enemy and to guarantee our existence in this country.
From Israel's Prime Minister down, the court heard officials encourage genocide. And Israeli soldiers responded willingly, South Africa claims. The outcome of Israel's campaign has been genocidal levels of death and destruction in Gaza, South Africa told the court. This week, our team in Gaza filmed these pictures showing the extraordinary destruction there.
It could take years for judges here to reach a final ruling on this charge of genocide, but that is not the immediate danger for Israel. What it fears most at the moment is a provisional ruling imposing a ceasefire on its war in Gaza that it says is vital to neutralise the threat of Hamas.
Relatives of Israeli hostages still held in Gaza have looked on with anger here, that it's Israel in court and not Hamas.
They came to our houses and killed them and took my father, 75-year-old sick man, and took it out. I don't know if he's alive, and tried to burn my sister with my nephews inside. So this is genocide, not what we're doing. We're protecting ourselves.
Israel says South Africa's action is politically motivated, something its justice minister denies.
This is not politics. It's about the human life that is being lost in Gaza, of young children, elderly, of an entire population that is being deprived of civil services, water, infrastructure that is being destroyed.
The war is polarising global opinion. Outside the court, protests from both sides. Palestinians hope the judges could end this war. Israel's lawyers up next in court hope to head off the threat of a ruling that could also brand their nation a potentially genocidal state.
The co-CEO of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry has told Sky News this is a political measure initiated by Hamas's allies in the international community.
Well, the South African case relies on several statements made by the Israeli Prime Minister and other Israeli politicians in the immediate aftermath of the Hamas atrocities of October 7. And when taken out of context, those statements are bellicose, they're aggressive, angry statements reflecting the mood of the country after such horrors were inflicted upon its people. But Israel has maintained categorically and unequivocally and consistently that it has no intention whatsoever of harming Palestinian civilians, that it has no intention of depopulating Gaza of its Palestinian population. It has no intention to reoccupy the territory whatsoever. This is purely a political measure initiated by Hamas's allies in the international community, notably South Africa, along with Iran and Turkey. And its aim is to provide political cover for Hamas at a time when its infrastructure, its leadership is teetering, it's on the brink of collapse in response to Israeli forces and the invasion of Gaza after the October 7 attacks. What was
how is it
genocidal?
political cover, though, when there is evidence of Israeli forces bombing places such as health centres, refugee camps?
Well, Israel is bombing where it needs to take out Hamas fighters and Hamas infrastructure. But the measures that it has gone to limit civilian suffering are virtually unprecedented. It is literally telling the Palestinians and telling Hamas which neighborhoods, which parts of Gaza it intends to strike in order to allow civilians to leave and to minimize the displacement and the toll on the civilian population. But when you have a terrorist force, genocidal in character, which seeks unequivocally to destroy the state of Israel and to kill every Jew within its population, and it is embedded within the civilian population, it fights from tunnels, it commits ambushes, it stores its weapons and its command centers in hospitals and schools and apartments, and we've seen ample evidence of this. You will have a civilian toll. It's unavoidable. But the way to end the civilian suffering, and there is only one path to this, is for Hamas to surrender, to lay down its arms, and to release more than 130 hostages which remain in its brutal, unlawful captivity.
So in terms of this case, though, the DFAT has said it respects the international ICJ process, and now the government's sort of facing pressure from Australian senators such as David Pocock to support this case. David Pocock has said that he's strongly supportive of the need for a credible and robust examination of Israel's conduct under the Genocide Convention. What's your reaction to the stance from Senator Pocock?
Well, I think it's deeply unfortunate. I sympathise with where the senator's coming from. I have no doubt that his primary concern is to minimise civilian suffering, but he is unwittingly, I believe, lending his good name and his good office to extremist forces, those who don't seek peace, who merely want to prop up the terror regime that has enslaved the Palestinian population in the name of the destruction of Israel and the Jewish people. What Senator Pocock should be doing in his concern for civilian life is calling immediately and unequivocally and consistently for the surrender of Hamas and for the release of 130 hostages. That is the way this war will end immediately, and that is the way the civilian toll and the suffering on both sides can be brought to an end.
Just quickly, Alex, have you or the jury made any representations to the government following this statement from Senator Pocock?
We have not. We will be reaching out to Senator Pocock directly to make our views known to him and to respectfully make our case to him as to why we oppose the ICJ action and why we oppose his particular remarks. But the government has not said that it's supporting this ICJ action brought by South Africa and its allies in the international community who are supportive of Hamas. The United States has made absolutely clear that this claim is baseless and political in nature, and we expect the Australian government to be consistent with that.